Now they can hear me. Yes. I did it again. Welcome, everyone, to the Robot Rampage League. Starting off with technical difficulties, as is usual for live streams. Hello, how is everybody doing? I see the chat is actually coming up now in the video, and you guys can actually hear me. Excellent. Welcome to week 13 of the league. We are getting pretty close to the end of the season, so let's see what went on with last week. So, after last week, where Meta lost to Heavy Metal Robotics, Meta has lost the lead in the league. And the Robot Rebels, in particular, they got shut out by Kinetic. And that's kind of an interesting point here. So we're going to take a look at our judges' decisions. I think Vacuity versus Psychogenic Harmfulness might be the most lopsided judges' decision we've had this season so far. It was not even close. But the standings have been shook because Meta is no longer number one in Division 2. The C team has taken over the top spot. And I mentioned the Robot Rebels. Their shutout dropped them all the way down to 8th place in Division 1. They used to be 2nd in Division 1 a while ago, like week 4. And they've dropped all the way down to 8th since the early part of the season. They've really fallen hard. But yeah, the standings, as usual, Division 2 is way ahead of Division 1, and Division 1's actually pretty close for that final playoff spot. So we'll see how things go after this week. And once again, the playoffs are stepladder format, so the final seeding, who has 1, who has 2, who has 3, actually matters. Let's just get in here and get our first match and our first fights of the stream going. What do we think about that? First match is Stormlab, as usual. And they are facing the new number 1, the C team. This is going to be kind of rough for Stormlab, I think. So, our very first fight in the lightweights is Firestarter for the Stormlab. It's an asymmetric horizontal spinner. The C team has Brickface, which is a sit-and-spin thwack bot. It's got kind of an angled thwacking weapon on the end, similar to T-Rex from classic BattleBots. What do we predict will be the outcome of this fight, chat? Let me know while I add this fight to my notes. If you are new to the Robot Rampage League, winning a fight by knockout gets 3 points for your team. Winning by a technical knockout, an immobilization 10 count, is 2 points. A ring out over the walls of the ring is 2 points, and a judge's decision is 1 point. So, 4 fights per match, and the team with the most points wins. Looks like, I think most people are going for Firestarter in this one. There are quite a few going for Brickface, though. So let's see how this one goes. And our first fight of the stream gets underway. Ooh, a great shot by Brickface to start. It flipped Firestarter over, but it's able to self-right. Ooh, Firestarter got a big hit to the chassis, though. And now it's gotten Brickface cornered over by the wall. And there goes, well, both of their weapons at the same time. And Brickface has taken it upon itself to ram them both into the wall and knock each other over. Firestarter can self-right with that counterweight, but Brickface is actually stuck on its end, and its wheels are not touching the floor. I think that's the end of the fight. Good job, Brickface. You played yourself. So, the game considers that to be Firestarter being immobilized. Firestarter is able to self-right usually. So, I think we would rule this to be Firestarter's win. What do you think, Burnout? Do we restart this one? Because Firestarter should be able to self-right and break the count. That is a double knockout, or a double TKO. Because the game immobilized Firestarter, who should be able to self-right. I think we have to restart that one. Like, I wrote it all down in my notes and such, and then I looked up and realized that the game counted out Firestarter. Restart it. Yeah, I think we have to restart it. If it's a double TKO, we have to restart. Or if it's a double... Yeah, it would be a double TKO. I don't think we can get a double KO. Huh. That's an interesting way to start the fight, or start the stream. We have not had that come up yet in this season of the league. Firestarter landed a big hit to Brickface's chassis, and Brickface got Firestarter turned over a little bit. Firestarter landing those chassis hits, though. That's... Oh, and it's knocked the weapon right off. This time, however, Firestarter's weapon remains attached. And Brickface losing everything and falling apart here. So that's a knockout, actually, in 33 seconds. That'll be interesting to try to interpret my notes after this one. Well, there we go. That's a quick 3 points to the Storm Lab over the #1 team in the league, the C team. And speaking of #1s in the league, the C team's middleweight. So the C team has Explicit Equation in the middleweights. It's an invertible piston poker. It's got 4 spikes that shoot out on pneumatic pistons. It's undefeated, 12-0 right now. Stormlab has Sludge, which is an incredibly fast and aggressive 4-wheel drive rammer that's also invertible. How do we think this fight's gonna go, chat? No Sludge Fest. Probably no Sludge Fest. Don't count it out just yet. Sludge does amazing things. Rook might get a PC for Christmas and get to compete in Season 2. Good luck. Hopefully you do get a computer that works. It's going to be a few months until Season 2 begins anyway, so you've got plenty of time to sort that out. It would be fitting for Explicit Equation to lose to a meme. I mean, would it? Would it really? We do want them to. We do want Explicit Equation and Creighton to both be undefeated for next week. Let's see if that happens. Oh my god! Oh. Sludge, like a top-heavy SUV, just turned sharply and fell over and had a rollover accident all on its own. Explicit Equation has a ring out to its name now. I don't think they ever made contact. They literally never made contact with each other. What was the time on that fight? Interestingly, Explicit Equation only got 2 points for that, so C team is still trailing 2-3. That may have been a tactical loss from Stormlab to make sure that the C team did not get 3 points for that fight. So, we move on to the heavyweights with Microburst for Stormlab, which is 6 or 7 pneumatic piston spikes, not invertible. The C team has Steel Dragon 2000, which has these bitey jaws, classified as overhead axes and rear hinge flipper mechanisms. Steel Dragon 2000 does a lot of damage, particularly with the overhead jaw, and it is one of the more destructive and higher scoring heavyweights in the league right now. So predictions on Microburst and Steel Dragon 2000, please. Looks like Chad is leaning towards Steel Dragon 2000 in this one. There are a few that predict Microburst. Let's see if Microburst can punch through the center of that jaw and get to the chassis. Ooh, the piston is keeping Steel Dragon 2000 at bay for the most part, but those top claws are getting down and hitting Microburst's chassis, but Microburst is hitting Steel Dragon's chassis. In fact, it's taken off both of the lower weapons off of Steel Dragon 2000. So, both robots doing a lot of damage to each other, but which one is doing the most? Oh, Steel Dragon 2000 going to try and run, and it's not going to help out because Microburst is right on it once again. Oh, it's taken all of the weapons off of Steel Dragon 2000 now. So Steel Dragon 2000 with no way to fight back other than pushing power, and that's going to be a KO in 49 seconds. And I believe Microburst has won them the match because Stormlab now has 6 points and the C team has 2, and the most that the C team can win in this next fight is 3 points. So Stormlab has won the match as a result of Microburst. I know words. And then we head into the Super Heavies. So, super heavyweight time. Stormlab has Uragano, which is a double vertical hammer spinner. Does a lot of damage, a lot of power in it. Not invertible. Hygiene for the C team is invertible. It's an 8-wheel drive rammer. And Uragano has been thrown over the walls of the arena by rammers before, by Heart Attack, I believe. So, this is not necessarily something that Uragano is matched up well against. What are your predictions for this? Burnout's expecting a judge's decision. That would be wild. These are two very destructive robots. Hygiene did not trip over the wall. I mean, we already had Sludge trip over itself in the middle of the floor. Looks like quite a few people going with Hygiene. Let's see. Ooh, almost got Uragano over the wall on the first hit. Now Uragano's upside down and Hygiene's going to throw it at the wall and almost got it over again. Can't win the match, you might as well go for the spectacular. But Uragano has done a lot of damage to the top of Hygiene and has now taken one of the many spikes off. Ooh, got a good shot to the wheels there. And, oh, it's going to flip Hygiene over. Hygiene only has, I think, the rear wheels touch when it's upside down. So now it's been largely hampered here. Lost a lot of its drive power. It's knocked hammers off of Oregano, who's now horribly off balance. Still has the pushing power. There's only 2 hammers left on Oregano's weapon. 1 hammer. And there's the whole weapon system off of Oregano. So now it's just down to pushing, and Hygiene still has the better pushing power here. Or maybe not. Oregano definitely has the wedging ability. In fact, it's going to push Hygiene into the grinder, which is a great tactic when Hygiene's rear wheels are the only ones that touch the floor, I believe. I see what Burnout meant when he predicted a judge's decision, but Hygiene's doing a lot of damage to the front end of Oregano's chassis here with those spikes up front. Definitely does not have the drive power without all of its wheels on the floor. I think that was one of the wheel protection spikes that came off of Hygiene. Oregano and its front stabilizers make a very good wedge and scoop. It's done this to a lot of robots so far this season. It's getting Hygiene back into the grinder. If it could take those wheels or motors off, it could probably win this fight. Oh, both of them come off at once. And now Hygiene's stuck on top of the grinder, and Oregano's just holding it there. In fact, I think Hygiene may be stuck on its own motors. It is! It can't drive with the other 6 wheels. It's not totally invertible. Oregano has won this fight through pushing. 16 seconds left in the fight. Wow. What a huge points day that is for Stormlab. They got 8 points out of this, an 8-2 win for the Stormlab. That is a heck of an upset. C-Team got the #1 spot, and they might not keep it. Then again, Meta, who are number 2 in the league, number 2 in the league at the moment, they are facing Team Smash, which is another power team. So C-Team might get away with this one. Then we have the Armchair Engineers versus Valley View Robotics Club. So the Armchair Engineers have Whipwreck in the lightweights. It is a sit-and-spin flail thwack bot. It has a flail on the end of the thwacking arm. A lot of drive power and invertible. Valley View Robotics Club has Overvolter, one of the most successful lightweights in the league. It has a big stabby axe up top, but it is not invertible. That is something Whipwreck's drive power might be able to take advantage of if it can survive hits from that axe. So what do we think is going to happen between Whipwreck and Overvolter here? Everybody going for Overvolter. Did Sludge fest itself? Sludge tripped over itself in the middle of the ring. It had a car accident, basically. It just turned sideways and barrel rolled out of the ring. It was amazing. Definitely going to be in the highlights video for sure. So here we go. Whipwreck versus Overvolter. And Overvolter immediately sniped the thwacking weapon off. But Whipwreck has knocked it over with drive power alone. And may be able to steal a TKO out of this. Because Overvolter cannot self-right, and it is stuck in the corner by the grinder. Just a matter of waiting for the count to take place. I think Overvolter's shuffling just enough to stop the count. So, Whipwreck, what are you doing? That's not how physics is supposed to work. But it has put Overvolter on the grinder, trying to get the KO. Oh, it took the axe off, so now we're definitely going to get a win here. Oh, but physics tossed it aside. I have to restart that now. Why, physics? It could have been a TKO, it could have been a KO, but we'll never know now because physics got in the way. So Overvolter takes a shot and hits the chassis and gets tossed away. Overvolter is actually surprisingly stable. Ooh, Whipwreck's got to be careful not to throw itself out of the ring like Sludge, but it knocked Overvolter on its side again. Whipwreck with a lot of power in that thwack. It took the wheel off of Overvolter. Okay. Overvolter is absolutely getting its butt kicked here at the moment. In fact, he's on control board hits. That's a knockout. Wow, Whipwreck with a 29-second KO. How about that? The Armchair Engineers with a KO to start the match. Then we move to the middleweights. This might actually be a good matchup for the Armchair Engineers. They're at the bottom of the table here, but they have Mini Berserker, which is 2 horizontal spinners in non-invertible robot. Valley View has Galactic Fabrication, a rear-hinged flipper. While Mini Berserker's not invertible, Galactic Fabrication doesn't really have any damaging components on it, so as long as Mini Berserker can get those weapons into play, it might be able to take the flippers off or get a lot of damage to the chassis, but we will have to see. Both of these robots are in the bottom of the middleweight division. They're not doing very well this season. The chat is looks like most people in the chat are going with Galactic Fabrication for this one. Somebody predicting it to get a ring out. Okay. We'll see if Galactic Fabrication has what it takes. I think Mini Berserker was thrown over the wall last week by Sludge. So let's see if the flipper Galactic Fabrication can do that, or if it falls victim to those spinning weapons. It is not able to get those flipping arms underneath Mini Berserker's chassis just yet, and they are just torn right off. So Mini Berserker weathering the flurry of flips from Galactic Fabrication and expertly taking those weapons off. And Galactic Fabrication is tripped over it somehow. And Mini Berserker is just going to cut up its front wedge. And this could be the Armchair Engineers' first match win of the season. That is a knockout. So, the Armchair Engineers are miles below everybody else in the standings. They are the worst team in the league. They could have their first match win here. They have 6 points. 6 points. Valley View needs 2 knockouts to tie the match and prevent the Armchair Engineers from winning. This is the best chance that the Armchair Engineers have ever had for a match win. So let's see if they can actually close on that. So, the Armchair Engineers bring to the heavyweights the Multibot, Axis, and Allies. Axis is a front-hinged flipper. Allies is a double vertical spinner. Valley View brings Cinnamon, which is this spiked scoop. It just kind of scoops under other robots and pushes them over the wall and out of the ring. At least that's what it's supposed to do. It's a 6-wheel drive rammer. I think it's 6-wheel drive rammer. Maybe it's a 4-wheel drive rammer. Not invertible. And I don't think any of them are invertible, but Axis can self-right. So, predictions for Axis and Allies versus Cinnamon. Cinnamon, Axis and Allies, Axis and Allies. Chat is split at the moment. Go on, Axis and Allies, win the match for the Engineers. I mean, all that Axis and Allies needs to do is... Actually, they could just get TKO'd and they win the match. Anything except a knockout. Not necessarily win the fight, but win the match by losing with a TKO. Which is distinctly possible because Cinnamon needs to KO both of them to get a KO, or to get the 3 KO points. It's going to knock Allies over here, and it's actually not lower than Axis. Axis is much lower than Cinnamon, or maybe not. So it looks like Allies is going to be left alone to be immobilized in the corner. Oh my goodness! Little Axis, the lightweight, has flipped Cinnamon over, and they're going to get a win here, I think. You know, I think Axis on its own does more for this multibot pair than it ever does with Allies on its team. This is the comeback story of a lifetime for the Armchair Engineers. 2:14 left on the clock. And Axis and Allies get a TKO victory. Wow, Allies only did 41 points of damage. So, that is a definitive first match win for the Armchair Engineers. They have 8 points, and there's still 1 fight left. Can they get a shutout? Oh my goodness, how embarrassing would that be for Valley View to get shut out by the Armchair Engineers? Come on, Smashy McSmashface, what do you got? So, the Armchair Engineers have Smashy McSmashface, armed with 5 hammer arms. It's designed specifically to look like it was built in Robot Arena 1. Valley View Robotics Club has Chemical X with 4 side-hinged axes. Chemical X's invertible, Smashy is not. Predictions for who will win this fight. I know we're all cheering for Smashy to get its first fight win of the season, but who do we think is going to win this fight? Everyone in the chat cheering for Smashy. How wild would that be for Smashy to get its first fight win, the Armchair Engineers get their first match win, and it's a complete shutout. All at the same time. Let's see if Smashy gets off the wall to start. It does. What do you got, Smashy? It's going right in at the chassis of Chemical X. It's knocked 2 of the axes off to start. It's knocked 3 of the axes off. Chemical X has knocked 3 off of Smashy as well, and is attacking the side of Smashy's chassis. And Smashy's actually not able to get underneath Chemical X here. They are going to have to break a TKO count here soon. So there's Smashy backing up. Chemical X is not moving. Now it's come free. It's going to attack the side of Smashy McSmashface and push it over towards the side of the wall. But Smashy's going to come at Chemical X from the rear. Oh, Chemical X is going to attack Smashy's wheel. Both of these robots not driving very well. Smashy getting a shot in, a couple of shots to Chemical X's wheels now. Oh, but it broke the last of the axes off now. So Smashy with the the 2 active weapons remaining, ChemicalX still has those defensive spikes it can use. It's flipped itself over the top of Smashy McSmashface. And they're both kind of stuck at the moment. We might have to restart this for a pin, but no, Smashy gets moving and ChemicalX gets free. We are halfway through the timed part of the fight. We will see if Smashy and ChemicalX can make it to the end. ChemicalX lacking its active weapon power, and Smashy struggling to get those 2 rear axes into play. But it has corralled ChemicalX over to the grinder, which is a good strategy on Smashy's part here. Try and use the arena to its advantage. ChemicalX really struggling to drive right now, upside down. It is going to push Smashy back into the wall. Smashy's wedge is... No way! Leave it alone! Leave it alone, Smashy! Oh my goodness, this would be amazing! Oh my goodness, it's happened! The Armchair engineers are going to get a complete shutout. No way! Wow! I don't believe it. I genuinely don't believe it. I would have given the chances of that at exactly 0. I have tears in my eyes. This is incredible. Wow, it's actually happened. Can you guys believe that? Oh man, the robot from Robot Arena 1 has gotten its first win. The engineers got their first win, and it's a total shutout. Wow. I never would have guessed any of those things could have happened in this season for the engineers, let alone all in the same match. Oh man. This has just made like this entire season for me. Like, there's been some cool stuff that's happened, but this might have been the coolest. Oh man. We have to move on to our next match, and I don't know if I'll be able to get my composure back for it. Oh, that was incredible. What do we have? River City against Sinister. Single greatest moment in RRL Season 1, no question. I think so. I think that has to be the single best moment of the season. Wow, that was crazy. Unlucky Week 13. So, our third match is River City Robotics against Sinister Creations. River City has Network, an invertible saw blade spinner. We classify saw blade spinners different from other kinds of spinners because they do slow damage over time rather than a bunch of damage in big hits. Overheat for Sinister Creations is a front-hinged flipper. What are your predictions for Network versus Overheat? We've peaked. No fight is going to top that. I don't think any match is going to top that last one. That was just so wild. Start to finish. I see Quora with the $20 super chat. Get off your armchairs after this stream and give our boys a standing ovation. I mean, absolutely. The Armchair engineers have fought and struggled so much to get to this point where they can get their first win, and it's just the most convincing of shutouts. That was probably one of the most entertaining matches we've had in the entire season. And this is one of the things I talk about when people are designing and building robots for Season 2 is we don't necessarily want robots that are going to be super efficient at winning fights. We want robots that are going to be entertaining, and the Armchair engineers are clearly the worst robots in the league, and this was the most entertaining match that we've had all season. The chat seems to be split on this particular fight. So let's see how this match between Sinister and River City goes. Well, Overheat has lopped the weapon off of Network immediately, just like Network's fight against Hailstorm earlier in the season. Network is going to kind of be a little bit of a dick and just hold Network with his wheels off of the floor at the moment. Oh, and it did the same thing to Network that happened to Chemical X and Brickface. It's just parked it on its front end, and Network is going to get TKO'd. What an excellent and efficient win for Overheat. 37 seconds. And that's a quick 2 points for Sinister. Burnout, RCT22, my brother who helps me run the stream, he's in the chat all the time, has dropped a $50 super chat, which I very much appreciate. Congrats, Smashy, you did the thing. Now I have to launch one of my teams into the sun. RIP Valley View Robotics Club, you will be missed. Moving on to the middleweights. And I dropped my pen everywhere. We have Cleansing for River City Robotics. It is also a front-hinged flipper, but it's got kind of the spike wedge up on the front. Sinister Creations has Cycloid, which is two side-hinged kind of Warpick-style axes, and Cycloid is invertible. It is, I think, the second or third most destructive middleweight in the league at the moment. So, predictions for Cleansing versus Cycloid. Bro moment. Yeah, my brother taking good care of me because I am unemployed at the moment, and YouTube is kind of my sole income at the moment. And that $50 will make a great Christmas gift eventually when I can finally order something with it. Thank you. Everybody going for Cycloid in this one. Cleansing from Tamabris. We'll see what Cleansing can do for you guys. Land of the flippers. Ooh, big shot from Cycloid immediately. Cleansing has gotten underneath it, but that front spike has broken the flipper right off of the front of Cleansing, and now it is just a wedge. And it is kind of being corralled into the corner by Cycloid at the moment. And it managed to knock one of the wheels off of Cleansing while it was on top. Demonstrating why Cycloid is one of the more destructive robots in the middleweights for a reason. Cleansing's just running at this point. And Cycloid's just like, nah, fam, I ain't having that. And Cycloid's gonna go... Or, Cleansing's gonna go back to running. Oh yeah, cut it off at the pass. There you go, Cycloid. Cleansing doesn't know what to do other than get KO'd. 58 seconds. And so, Sinister Creations is up 5-0 at the moment over River City. You know, overall standings for the league, River City and the Armchair Engineers have been pretty close. And River City's kind of pulled ahead a little bit, but the Armchair Engineers just got a massive 10-point win, and River City's got nothing. So the Armchair Engineers might actually lift themselves out of dead last here if River City doesn't get their act together. Ooh. Speaking of getting its act together, the game has crashed. Excellent. Foduck, imagine if you repaired Super Collider, then brought him to William Osmond's house to fight Red Devil. That would be a very long way to take a robot. Because William Osmond is in California, and I am in Indiana. Okay, heavyweight time. River City Robotics has Jaws of Death, which is these two side-hinged swinging clubs. Sinister Creations has Omnipresence, which is a sit-and-spin flail. Sit-and-spinner is what we classify it as. They're both invertible. Omnipresence has suffered from AI issues. The AI likes to park next to something and then just spin and wait until it gets itself counted out. So let's see what the two of them can do against each other here. Both of them not doing as well as they probably could. What are your predictions for Omnipresence and Jaws of Death? Not one to fly. First time I've made it to a stream. Just gotten into your channel in the past month. Hey, welcome to the channel, man. I have tons and tons of robot combat related videos to watch. They're, for the most part, all about humor and being funny. So please enjoy the rest of the videos. Enjoy the Robot Rampage League. We are 4 or 5 weeks away from the end of the first season. So there's still plenty of robot fighting to go here. Most people going for Omnipresence in the chat here. So let's get this fight started and see if River City can claw some points back. Ooh, a big hit immediately into Omnipresence, but it's gotten up to speed. It's lost one of the flails. 2 of the flails, actually. 3 of the flails. One of them just went flying into the crowd. There goes the last flail. So now it's just these spikes on extenders. But it has broken one of the clubs, 2 of the clubs on Jaws of Death, who has ended up upside down. We do have a physics bomb sitting in the arena from those axles, so we might end up having to restart this. Jaws of Death has totally lost its weapons, and now those spiked extenders are really coming into play. Oh, but the spikes are breaking off. They have all broken off. So Jaws of Death, with its defensive spikes, has broken apart Omnipresence's primary weapons. Now Omnipresence just has those kind of defensive ramming spikes. But Jaws of Death does not really have any defensive features left here. And Omnipresence is just going to ram it to death and get the KO anyway. That is 71-second KO. Good damage numbers from both robots. Did you say Jaws of Death has just unlocked Omnipresence the Rammer? This is not pay to win here, or pay to lose in this case. We are not EA. I like how the AI changes once all the flails are taken out. Yes, you can program the AI so that once the main weapon components are broken off, it switches into ramming mode. Which is very important for robots like Omnipresence who have their weapons broken off. So now, Super Heavyweights time, and RCR River City is on 0 points, and their only hope is Overseer. Horizontal spinner with a lot of defensive work up front. It's fighting Rabid Fox, which has 4 vertical spinners, and is known for falling over quite a lot. Predictions for these two. Mike has gotten better at figuring out the times in his head. Not entirely. Mike figures out the times in his head when it's within about 10 or 15 seconds of, like, a full minute. If it's, like, in the middle somewhere, like, a minute 20, then I'm just clueless. Lots of people going for Rabid Fox in this one. I kind of want to agree because Overseer is pretty limited on weapon power. Neither of these robots are invertible. So let's see what happens. Neither of them are very fast either. But Rabid Fox is just fast enough to fall over on impact, but that puts all of its weapons right on the floor where Overseer's weapon is. But Overseer actually took a wheel off of Rabid Fox. And that parks Rabid Fox on its side. Overseer's going to try and stop it from coming down, but Rabid Fox did get down. And it's now able to attack the front end of Overseer if it can get into play. Actually, Rabid Fox is struggling to move. It has broken the TKO count, so Overseer's going to go back in once again. Horizontal spinner on Overseer takes so long to get up to speed. And it doesn't even get up to that high of a speed either. Just kind of feeding it into Rabid Fox. Actually, Overseer trying to get around and get that other wheel off. Oh, but it's gotten Rabid Fox back into the grinder. We could get some grinder damage here soon. Actually, it's the wheel. Overseer's gotten both wheels off of Rabid Fox. And now Rabid Fox is getting a TKO count, and it cannot break that. 145 left. That is a convincing TKO win for Overseer. So, River City gets at least 2 points back in that one, but that is a Sinister Creations win, 8-2. Underdog week, no kidding. Overseer with a convincing win, Smashy with a win, the Armchair Engineers with a shutout. Man, this is... the standings are going to be wild after this. So we move to our fourth match, which is the Baltimore Kestrels and the Moscow Mantines. Highlights are going to be so long. Good luck, Burnout. So the Kestrels have El Gringo in the lightweights, a super compact four-wheel drive rammer that is invertible. The Moscow Mantines have Hailstorm 4, which is a front-hinged flipper. El Gringo, however, is armored in plastic. It is the weakest armor in the game. So, what do we predict will happen between El Gringo and Hailstorm 4? It's week 13, strange things are happening. I guess. It's lucky, or depending on your team, unlucky week 13. People predicting Hailstorm for the most part. Liam says we could get a Sledgefest. I don't know if El Gringo's fast enough for that. Let's see. Oh, El Gringo second-guessing its box rush and paying the price for it. The Hailstorm's gotten some good hits on it and gotten it up against the wall. But Hailstorm's flipping arm hitting those spikes. It's broken two of the spikes off, actually. And it's on control board hits here. Hailstorm could get a knockout. El Gringo just not able to get off the wedge. Oh, but Hailstorm's spike broke off on El Gringo's spikes, and now it is just a pushing match. El Gringo the only one with the damaging weapons, but Hailstorm has the wedge, and all it needs is to get El Gringo into the grinder once to get that last control board hit to get a knockout. And it is very, very effective at scooping El Gringo up, but El Gringo is trying to use it as a skate ramp. El Gringo is smoking heavily and lost a lot of drive power as a result of all that damage. El Gringo retreating, Hailstorm on the attack, trying to get El Gringo to the grinder. But El Gringo is doing a little bit of damage at a time every time it goes up that wedge. Wow. Gringo is very, very slow now. It might not be able to make it to the end of this fight. There's a minute left to go. Hailstorm's taking a lot of damage to that wedge now. If it can get El Gringo into a count-out situation, I don't think El Gringo will have the drive power to break a 10 count. It's not looking good, and it's over by the grinder where it does not want to be right now. "35 seconds to go, and it's still getting little bits of damage at a time to Hailstorm's wedge, and Hailstorm's showing some smoke now. Hailstorm's going to push it back to the wall. Oh, that's a control board hit on Hailstorm. We are very close to there being a knockout for either of these. And that is a knockout. With 11 seconds to go, El Gringo just barely pulled out the win. Just goes to show that you cannot count a robot out. That was a gutsy performance from El Gringo. Fighting through the pain to get to the end of that fight and score the knockout. And that's 3 points to the Kestrels. Then we move on to the middleweights. The Kestrels have Drigger, which is a pneumatic piston poking, kind of tiger claw shaped weapon on the front end of Drigger. It is invertible. The Moscow Mantines have OMG, its dollar store Razor, which has both an overhead claw and a rear hinged flipper underneath, kind of for a biting motion. I don't think Razor is invertible. I don't think either of them is going to flip each other, though. Predictions for Drigger and OMG, its dollar store Razor. Drigger to poke fun at Razor. I mean, isn't it just fun to poke fun at Razor? It just is. KJ going with Drigger because Beyblades. I mean, that was where I got the name from. So let's see how this fight goes. Ooh, a big hit to the front of both robots. Drigger's taken the claw off of Razor. The Razor does have that damaging rear hinged flipper, and Drigger's going to take shots at that now too. But Razor has Drigger pinned against the grinder and is doing a lot of damage to the rear end of Drigger here. Oh, but the rear hinge flipper breaks off of Razor, so now Razor just a wedge. And Drigger's just going to park on top of it here. Okay. You're going to have to break a TKO count here soon. There they go, they break the pin. Drigger just goes straight up that wedge. And Razor can just do whatever it wants with Drigger. So it's really going to be up to Drigger to score the hits with its weapon here. Otherwise, Razor is going to just carry it around for the rest of the match. Razor struggling to do anything with Drigger for the moment. It's gotten it over to the grinder once again. Razor did take damage. It lost one of its wheels to the grinder, and now Drigger has got Razor in place. Can't do anything with that wedge just yet. Just about a minute to go here. Drigger struggling to do any more significant damage to Razor, and Razor struggling to drive on just 3 wheels. Ooh, control board hit finally. So Drigger has been doing damage to Razor. It has piled up over the course of the fight. It just can't seem to land the big hits that it needs. It did break off another wheel, though, and then got stuck up on the wedge. 15 seconds remain. This might go to the judges. I think that's what Razor's strategy is here. Just keep wedging it to the end of the fight. Limit the Kestrels to a single point for a judge's decision instead of getting 3 for a knockout. And that is a judge's decision. I think we know which way it's going to go, but it officially goes to the judges, and that is a maximum of 1 point that is available to win that fight. And so we move on to the heavyweights. I saw a super chat up here from Snowing Steak, 5 pounds. Welcome to the stream, Snowing Steak. Just got here from playing Smash with the boys. Did I miss anything? Oh my, did you miss stuff. We've had the single best match of the entire season so far between the Armchair Engineers and Valley View Robotics Club, and there was just so much going on in that. I don't want to spoil it for you. Go back and watch it when it's convenient for you, whether it's after the stream or right now. Go back and watch the Armchair Engineers match. It is so good. Meanwhile, the Kestrels bring Warbird into the heavyweights. It is 3 rear-hinged flippers and a bunch of defensive spikes along the sides. The Moscow Mantines have Tougher Than Nails, which has these 4 sledgehammers and kind of a crushing horizontal motion. Predictions for Warbird and Tougher Than Nails. Everybody going with Warbird on this one. Let's see how it turns out. Ooh, Warbird's defensive features blocked by Tougher Than Nails' primary weapon, those crushing sledgehammers. So neither able to get their weapon into play against the other. Oh, but Tougher Than Nails plays possum and then goes after Warbird's rear end. Not quite able to get any significant damage in. Oh, and now it's up on top of Warbird, and Warbird has gotten Tougher Than Nails up and over a couple times. And is doing damage with those flipping arms. Tougher Than Nails getting away, though. And now they've locked up once again, where Warbird cannot get those flipping arms into play. So this is a really interesting typing matchup. This is one of those things that just numbers don't tell you what the result is going to be. Right, Warbird should win this easily, but Tougher Than Nails is being extremely defensive here and has broken one of the flipping arms off of Warbird, who's gotten it pushed back into the grinder at the moment. There's another one of the sledgehammers broken off the lower 2, but it still has 2 sledgehammers remaining on the ends of those arms. Oh, but a wheel has come off now. The grinder got a wheel off of Tougher Than Nails. And so now it's up to Warbird to pick and choose its spots here, and it's just going to press Tougher Than Nails into the grinder. It may be Tougher Than Nails, but it is not tougher than our arena hazards, that's for sure. Tougher Than Nails getting counted. Not getting counted out, but it is kind of high-centered on debris, but Warbird's going to go in and try and kill it. And that is a knockout with 1:15 left. Tougher Than Nails taking the defensive route in that fight, but the Kestrels able to use the pushing power of Warbird to get the win with the arena hazards. Mediator, good thing I tuned in time to watch the Mantines win. Absolutely, but you missed an amazing Armchair Engineers match. As strange as it sounds to say that. That is not the robot that goes there. that is. So, super heavyweight time. We have Berserker for the Kestrels. It has 4 horizontal spinners. It is literally mini Berserker with 2 extra weapons on it. The Moscow Mantines have Falcon Punch, a sit-and spinner with a bunch of boxing glove weapons all around the border of it. It is one of the better super heavyweights in the league. So, predictions. What does the chat think is going to happen in this fight? Has Falcon Punch ever been defeated? Yes, it's got 3 or 4 losses so far this season. 2 of them by robots that just plain had a lot of reach on it. That seems to be the main way to defeat Falcon Punch, is just have the reach. Lots of people going with Falcon Punch on this one. Captain Mantine says he hates it here. Well, maybe you can get some points out of this one. So both robots pretty slow to get to the center of the ring. Falcon Punch getting itself up to speed. Berserker trying to steer back and forth and get both of its spinning weapons into play. It has actually knocked one of the boxing gloves off of Falcon Punch here. Neither robot really getting a big advantage here. One of the weapons now broken off entirely from Berserker. Falcon Punch losing more of its boxing gloves, and now both front weapons off of Berserker. Physics is very unhappy about that, but I think we're going to get away with it. Now Berserker just trying to push Falcon Punch over to the wall and get it stopped, and Falcon Punch is just going to backhand it to death. Berserker trying to turn around and use those rear weapons. But that is the knockout. 63 seconds. And so the Mantines at least have 3 points out of that match. And the Kestrels really didn't get a whole lot. They got 6, 7 if they get the judges' decision. So that's not a big win. That's just sort of a win. Probably not going to move very much in the standings with 7 points. And we move on to our kind of middle of the stream match between Pink Chaos and Team Eeveeon. Pink Chaos is competing for a playoff spot with the Mantines, so Pink Chaos needs to get a lot of points here to pull away from them, but they are known for not getting a whole lot of points themselves. So in the lightweights, we have Unprettier for Pink Chaos, which is that overhead spike. Team Eeveeon has Kurbnalob, which is a vertical spinner that spins downwards and traps the opponent against the wedge. Neither of these robots are invertible, but Unprettier can self-right in some situations. So what do we think will happen between Unprettier and Kurbnalob? Something you can do with the stock AI. I don't think the stock AI switches from front to rear weapons. I know that's an AI mode in DSL, which is something that we are going to add to Season 2 is the new AI modes. Mainly because of the sit and spin AI is just so bad in stock. Most in the chat going with Unprettier. Darren, oh, Bolingbrook is an actual place. Yes, it is. It's a Chicagoland suburb. And here we go with this this first fight of this match. Oh my goodness, a huge hit by Kurbnalob to the top of Unprettier. It's lopped the weapon off of Unprettier and is getting a tremendous amount of damage in. Unprettier having the wedging advantage at the moment, but not the pushing power. And it's backed itself into the grinder, and Corbnalob's going to go in to try to kill it and knock itself over in the process. Unprettier needs to, well, even if it left Corbnalob alone, Corbnalob's still going to steer around a little bit, so it's trying to push it up against a wall where it's going to get TKO'd. But Unprettier needs to be really careful of that weapon because it is on control board hits, and it could get knocked out here. And in fact, it has. Corbnalob with the KO. And that is 3 points to Team Eeveeon right off of the bat. Not looking good for Pink Chaos, kind of perpetually middle of the road team. Never gotten more than 6 points in a match, Pink Chaos has. And they are at risk of maintaining that streak at the moment. So the middleweights, Pink Chaos has overthrown a double front hinged flipper. Team Eeveeon has the spinning cage of death, which is this kind of 360 spinner robot. It is not invertible, but it definitely could hit overthrown in the side of that wedge. So, predictions for overthrown and spinning cage of death, please. This has to be the most surprising week by far. It's been very surprising so far. Absolutely. Stormlab convincingly beat the C team, the number 1 team in the league. The worst team in the league got a shutout victory. It's been a wild week so far. Everyone going with overthrown in this one. A few are going for spinning cage of death here. Let's see what spinning cage of death can do to overthrown. Tried to get itself up to speed, and overthrown took advantage of that and just tossed it right over the wall. Spinning cage of death hesitated for a fraction of a second, and that was all that it took. And quickly, Pink Chaos has gotten 2 points out of that. But they are trailing Eeveeon 3-2 at the moment, so they need more points and more wins. They want to lock onto a playoff spot. So now we go to the heavyweights, where Pink Chaos has Panther and Invertible Rammer. Team Eeveeon has Spike 6, a double front hinged flipper, kind of similar to Overthrown. Actually very similar to Overthrown, except it's got kind of those points on the front of its wedge. Predictions for Panther and Spike 6. Lots of people going with Spike 6 on this one. Player name default suggests a Sledge Fest. It's possible. Panther's got a lot of ground clearance with those big off-road wheels. Let's see. Oh, Panther just slams into the front end of Spike 6, who's gotten it up against the wall and tossed it over now. But it's putting those fragile flipping arms into the Panther's teeth. But now Panther on top of the grinder, it's tried and sort of gotten away. And now trying to use those teeth to break off those flipping arms. Spike 6 not doing a great job protecting them, or maybe trying to break off the spikes on the front of Panther. It has kept Panther at bay for the most part, but one of the flipping arms and one of the Panther paws have come off. Oh, and another big hit to the chassis of Panther, who's on control board hits now. But there goes the last of the spikes. The last of the flipping arms has come off of Spike 6, and now it's just a wedge. But it does have the wedging and pushing power here. Panther not able to drive very well with only 3 wheels. because there's 2 on one side and 1 on the other, and it's just going to steer when it tries to drive straight. Panther breaking its tail off on the grinder now. Spike 6 kind of oversteering as it tries to drive up to Panther, who's gotten stuck. It lost a wheel to one of Spike 6's defensive spikes on the sides, which has actually evened out Panther's drive. But it is absolutely hampered Panther drastically. We're in the second half of this fight now. Neither robot with a whole lot of speed or energy left here. But Panther has gotten Spike 6 back to a grinder. And Spike 6's defensive work actually coming into play for a moment there. Protecting it from one of Panther's attacks to the side of the chassis. Spike 6 dangerously close to a grinder here. It definitely seems like the tide has shifted and Panther's the one on the attack now. And as I say that, Spike 6 goes and takes it over the wall. Panther quite nimbly getting off the wedge of Spike 6 there, but once again being taken to the wall. Oh, getting some more shots on the front end of Spike 6. 15 seconds to go. This might go down to the judges. And if it does, Pink Chaos is once again not going to get any more than 6 points in this match. And that is a judge's decision. So, judges' decisions are only worth 1 point, which means either Eeveeon has 4 or Pink Chaos is tied it at 3, but there's 1 fight remaining and there's only 3 more points maximum available, so we move on to the Super Heavies. Oh my. Pink Chaos has Dysfunctional Stepsister in the Super Heavyweight class. 10 rear-hinged flipping arms. Eeveeon has Blood Eagle, which is this massive battering ram and cluster of defensive spikes around the sides. Blood Eagle is invertible and has a 1-hit knockout against the top Super Heavyweight in the league. Predictions for Dysfunctional Stepsister and Blood Eagle. Hey, Baron Goal is in the chat. I assume that means that he finally won on Warzone on his stream. Number of people in the chat going with Dysfunctional Stepsister. Number going with Blood Eagle. It seems to be split. How have I only just now noticed none of the teams have mottos? Because try coming up with good mottos for like 24 teams that you're probably not going to have returning after this season. Yeah, it's just extra typing and extra work, so no mottos this season. We might have mottos for next season. Chat is pretty split. We'll see what happens. Blood Eagle struggled with the floor for a moment, and Dysfunctional Stepsister's gotten under it immediately and gotten it over and perched it on top of the wall with all of its wheels off of the floor. Now, Dysfunctional Stepsister is parked on top of Blood Eagle, who has gotten free from the wall as a result, but the flipping arms are now out of sync and over the top of Blood Eagle rather than under it. Oh, they have gotten under it a little bit here. They've gotten Blood Eagle into the grinder and gotten a wheel off of it. So Blood Eagle getting taken apart here by Dysfunctional Stepsister, who has its own wheel against the grinder. Needs to be very careful about that. Nope, Dysfunctional Stepsister lost a wheel on the grinder now. Poor driving by Dysfunctional Stepsister. Blood Eagle has taken a huge amount of damage to that rear end and lost a drive wheel in the process. And now it's going to push Dysfunctional Stepsister into the grinder and return the favor. And Stepsister's taking a huge amount of damage to that rear end. It's got to break a TKO count here, which it does. Blood Eagle not able to get that long ram in charge with its drive lopsided. Stepsister's just going to get a little flip in there with it. But Stepsister's got to break a count once again. And it's struggling to with Blood Eagle in the way. And it has not broken the count. Stepsister counted out. I think that's a TKO win because Blood Eagle was not pinning Dysfunctional Stepsister and stopping it from trying to break the count. Dysfunctional Stepsister just plain didn't break the count. So I think that's a TKO win. Once again, the robot that went completely undefeated in the Patreon show, Dysfunctional Stepsister, falling short in the league, and that is a convincing Eeveeon win. They have either 5 or 6 points, and Pink Chaos has either 2 or 3 points. So Pink Chaos loses, only gets 2 points. The Mantines had 3 points, so the Mantines are gaining on Pink Chaos. And once again, we move on to our next match. Considering upgrading and bringing back aggro for next season. The reason aggro is not in this season is because it was so incredibly overpowered in the Patreon show that we banned it. You can't upgrade something that's already banned. Our next match is Hive Academy versus Kinetic Creatures. Hive has Jinx in the lightweights. It's a side-hinged flipper. Kinetic Creatures has Steel Dragon, which is a vertically oriented sawblade spinner. It is sort of invertible. It can run upside down on the saw blades, but it doesn't like it. What are the predictions for Jinx versus Steel Dragon? Oh, everybody in chat is going with Jinx for this one. We'll see if Jinx can get under Steel Dragon. Steel Dragon and Jinx are both known for wedge stalemates and very long, boring, drawn-out judges' decisions, so hopefully that doesn't happen this time. Oh, Jinx goes up the wedge of Steel Dragon and is going to get cut up by those saw blades to start. Steel Dragon absolutely taking advantage of its first charge against Jinx to get some damage points in quick. Jinx taking another charge, and Jinx has gotten under Steel Dragon now and going to get a couple of flips in. So now Steel Dragon upside down with those saw blades running up against Jinx's wedge. This is a good thing. Look at the damage it's doing cutting up Jinx's wedge. Jinx to the side of Steel Dragon, but not able to get underneath it or do anything with that wedge just yet. Steel Dragon kind of circling and trying to get Jinx's wheels into the grinder. There was a brief glancing against the grinder for a moment. And now Jinx pushed into the grinder by Steel Dragon. And Jinx is struggling to get away. It's lost a wheel now. Steel Dragon just kind of making it as difficult as possible to get away. Steel Dragon having to break a count. Jinx going to have to break a count as well. It has, I believe. And Steel Dragon just going to do everything it can to keep it near this grinder. Halfway through the timed part of the fight. They are at a wedge stalemate at the moment, but they are going to have to break the pin here. Steel Dragon breaks the pin. Jinx able to break the TKO count and get away from the grinder, importantly. So if this does go to the judges, it's going to be interesting to see if the early attacks help Jinx out with the points, or if losing the wheel to the grinder is too much to overcome. Just a wedge stalemate at the moment with 38 seconds to go. Jinx has to break a TKO count and does. And it's gotten to Steel Dragon's side, but that's not going to help Jinx out much without the drive power to get underneath it. First slow fight we've had all night. It kind of is. We have, 2 or 3 each week, so it's not unsurprising, particularly with Jinx. Jinx has had a lot of judges' decisions this season. It just barely broke the TKO count there. And the last 10 seconds are going to count down without a whole lot of action here. So, another judge's decision to start this match off. And we go to the middleweights. So HIVE has Gizmo in the middleweights. It's a 4-wheel drive aggressive rammer. It's very similar to Sludge. Kinetic Creatures has Siege, which is a vertical bar spinner. It can self-right. So, what do we predict for Gizmo versus Siege? At least the judges will be kept busy. Yeah, they've had a few decisions to make so far. Not a terribly busy week for them. Certainly not the 10 or 12 decisions we had a number of weeks back. But, the judges aren't going to be bored at least. Well, maybe that last fight, but it was still a fight that at least some things happened in, so. Most of the chat at first going with Siege here. We'll see if Gizmo can keep itself in the ring, unlike Sludge, which tripped over itself. Well, let's see what happens. Ooh, a big charge by Gizmo right off the bat into those armor plates on the front of Siege. It's knocked itself over, and Siege was able to get some weapon hits on it, but mainly just hitting those front spikes on Gizmo. And Gizmo's getting Siege pushed back towards the grinder, but Siege has taken advantage of an opportunity and taken a wheel off of Gizmo now, who's going to lose drive power and steering ability as a result. And now Siege just pummeling the chassis, smoke's pouring out of Gizmo. Siege has lost one of its armor panels up front, but it's just slowly taking that front weapon apart on Gizmo. There goes another wheel. Gizmo trying to get away from Siege and get a moment to breathe and reorient itself, but Siege is relentless. There's the last of the spikes off. Oh, but Gizmo has gotten Siege back to the grinder, but Siege fights back hard. And it looks like Siege is going to get the KO here. Yes, pins Gizmo up against the wall and kills it. Very convincing win in 65 seconds. So, Kinetic Creatures with 3 points and a possible 4th point, depending on the judge's decision. And we go to the heavyweights, where we have Mammoth for Hive Academy with 4 Warpick-style axes, 2 of them overhead, 2 of them side axes. Kinetic Creatures has Surgical Glory, which is a sit-and-spin flail thwackbot with a lot of defensive features. Those swords protect its wheels pretty well, and it is invertible, and Mammoth is not. So, predictions for Mammoth and Surgical Glory. Mammoth has been very, very tenacious and come from behind to win a lot of fights this season. Mammoth is too resilient to lose to Surgical Glory, says Burnout. Well, he built both of these robots, so he would know better than I would. Quite a few people choosing Mammoth for this one. We will see. Surgical Glory and Mammoth are both among the most destructive heavyweights in the league. Mammoth losing an axe immediately to Surgical Glory's flails on the side there. One of the flails has come off, but Surgical Glory is getting hits directly to the side of Mammoth's chassis. And now going for the wheel and the other axe as well. It's lost the flails, but it does still have those swords and one spiked extender, which it is using to great effect at the moment. Mammoth's really struggling to get in deep and get to Surgical Glory's chassis. Every time it charges in there, Surgical Glory tosses it aside. It has broken that spike off of the extender, so now it's just the swords on Surgical Glory, but Mammoth is hurting, and that's going to be a KO. So that is 6 points that Kinetic Creatures has earned, and that wins them the match. Because there was a judge's decision in the lightweights, that's only 1 point, and there's only 3 points left available. So Kinetic Creatures has beaten the #1 team in Division 1. And there's still one fight left to play. It is 2 and 14, yes. So, in the Super Heavyweights, HIVE has HIVE, which is a double-length piston-stabbing robot with a lot of defensive features on the front and the rear. Kinetic Creatures has White Hot, which is an overhead bar spinner with a lot of defensive features around the front and the sides. Tough to say how it's going to go because they're both really defensive robots that can do a lot of damage because of the sheer amount of weaponry that they have on them. But they don't really bring a whole lot of offense. That's mainly defense that they've got. So I'm interested to see how this goes. What are your predictions, chat? Burnout says he's surprised Kinetic has done so poor this siege, and Siege and Surgical Glory are both really good. Yeah, Kinetic Creatures is similar to some of the other mid-tier teams in this season, where they have like 1 or 2 really good robots and then 2 totally awful robots. And so it just kind of balances out and they end up in the middle of the standings. Chat looks pretty split here between HIVE and White Hot. Foduck wondering what HIVE stands for. I don't even know. That's something for the comic book nerds in the audience to inform me of. Let's see which robot's better, or at least which robot can win this fight. We might have physics problems here. In fact, we almost do off of the bat. White Hot. Oh, wow. HIVE has taken the spikes off, and there's the physics problems. We knew it was going to happen sooner or later. This is the first fight we've had to restart for physics issues, which is surprising. I've gone pretty far into the stream. Okay, physics. We get it. The physics engine really does not like when spikes are jammed between other spikes. Big hit to start. White Hot not really doing much with that overhead bar spinner and losing its entire front end to HIVE's pistons. But it has broken off most of HIVE's spikes and one of the pistons now. So White Hot here might be able to disable HIVE's weapon, which I think would be the first robot to totally disable HIVE's pistons. HIVE trying to get damage to the top of White Hot, but unable to do so. But White Hot's bars are over the top of HIVE. Physics just threw both of them over, but we're going to let it roll because they both recovered from it quickly. White Hot has those defensive wheel guards made out of swords. HIVE has those ram plates in the front, but I think White Hot is getting a few hits to the top of Hive's chassis, or at least it has. Hive trying to get White Hot against the wall to stop those spinning bars. One of the wheel guards have come off of White Hot, it seems. But Hive definitely with the pushing power in this fight. And it is still doing damage to White Hot's chassis and knocking wheel guards off it. Another piston comes off. White Hot's overhead weapon is totally lopped off all of the weapons of Hive. But look at the damage that White Hot has taken in the process. Ooh, that was a huge ram. And Hive has killed it through ramming power alone with 114 left. Try and think of how many seconds that would be. I have to do math in my head, which I'm not good at. So, Hive manages at least 3 points in that match, which is good for, you know, the team that's leading the league, or leading the division. They definitely needed some points. But now, we're going to move on to what might be our most hyped match of the stream. Maybe not the best match, but the most hyped. It's between Meta and Team Smash. These teams are second and third in the league. Second and third in Division 2. Two of the best teams in the league at the moment. Team Smash has Bubblegum in the lightweights, which is a spiked wedge scoop rammer. Meta Bot Builders has Uglybot, which is a pneumatic piston poker that is invertible. Bubblegum's not invertible. What are your predictions for Bubblegum and Uglybot? Bubblegum. A lot of people with Bubblegum. Quite a few with Uglybot. Okay. This could be an interesting fight between these two. They both have a lot of drive power. I think Uglybot might have the weapon power advantage. Oh, they both missed the box rush. Uglybot trying to get at Bubblegum's wheels. And it's gotten Bubblegum back into the grinder. And Bubblegum's managed to wiggle its way out. And then back in and lost a wheel. So Bubblegum quickly down a wheel, and that's basically its whole weapon system, is its drive power. And Uglybot able to just pick and choose and take this spiked scoop apart. Smoke pouring out of Bubblegum now from the damage it's taken. Uglybot pushing it back against another grinder, and there's the other wheel off now. So Bubblegum decisively has lost this fight. It's just a matter of if Uglybot gets 3 points or 2. Oh, and Uglybot throws itself into the grinder. It's got to be careful. It's trying to get that weapon into play to get the knockout. Not quite able to hit hard enough yet. There's the knockout shot with 146 left. Can't do math in my head. 74, thank you. So that is 3 points to the Meta Bot Builders, who are coming off of a big loss last week that dropped them down to second place. They need all the points they can get. And now it's middleweight time. Two of the best middleweights in the league. Planetary Conqueror with the overhead bar spinner and the tremendous drive power, but not invertible for Team Smash. Meta Bot Builders has Kraton, the 12-0 undefeated rear-hinged flipper with the 4 rear-hinged flippers attached. Predictions for Planetary Conqueror versus Kraton. I believe next week is Explicit Equation versus Creighton, and if both of them are undefeated next week, that would be amazing. Explicit Equation has already won its fight this week. It's up to Creighton to make it a undefeated matchup next week. Most of the chat thinks it's going to be Creighton, but quite a lot of Planetary Conqueror predictions as well. Let's see. Planetary Conqueror has a decent wedge and a lot of drive power. Oh, and Creighton went up the wedge. It's gotten under Planetary Conqueror a little bit, but now the flipping arms are exposed to that spinning weapon. And Planetary Conqueror taking full advantage of having Creighton on top of it. Creighton mistiming the flip once again and getting the weapon instead of the chassis of Planetary Conqueror. And those flipping arms, we've seen them be fragile on other robots, and Planetary Conqueror's hoping to lock them off here. It's doing a little bit of damage to Creighton's chassis, but Creighton's got Planetary Conqueror back into the grinder, but the Conqueror going to fight back and push Creighton around, and one of the flipping arms has been broken off by that spinning bar, and now smoke coming out of Creighton. Creighton is absolutely on the ropes in this fight, mistiming those flips and going right up Planetary Conqueror's wedge. And Planetary Conqueror now with Creighton pinned to the wall. Absolutely relentless with that drive power. It briefly was on top of Creighton's wedge, but now Creighton back underneath that horizontal spinner. And Creighton tried to spin away, but Planetary Conqueror won't let it. Physics just happened there. We might have to restart that because it spun Planetary Conqueror away. And that's given Creighton a chance to push it against the wall and flip it over. Burnout. Do we have to restart because physics tossed Planetary Conqueror away when they had the advantage? Otherwise, this is a TKO win for Creighton. You don't think so? Okay. The fight continues. The last of the flipping arms have come off of Creighton, who has pushed Planetary Conqueror over to the other wall. It's shuffling around enough to avoid a TKO count. Creighton trying to hold it there and make sure the count starts. Only 35 seconds left in the fight. Creighton backs away to break the pin. And there it is. Planetary Conqueror TKO'd, and Creighton barely scrapes out a win. For the record, the vast majority of chat said no restart. What a lucky win for Creighton to manage to get Planetary Conqueror over through wedging alone and keep itself undefeated. Wow, that was a good fight. So one of the things, while the game crashes and I have to restart it, one of the things that you can do every week is vote on the fight of the week. We put a poll up on Twitter, on the Robot Rampage Twitter account, and you can also vote in the Discord server for the fight of the week that goes in the highlights video. That is definitely a strong contender. Oh my. Spider-Man pointing at himself meme here. Team Smash comes in with Bioshocker, a double vertical spinner with some defensive features around the sides. The Metabot Builders come in with Psychogenic Harmfulness, a double vertical spinner with defensive features in the rear and some stabilizers in the front. Predictions for Bioshocker and Psychogenic Harmfulness. So far, potential fights of the week are Gringo Hailstorm, Panther Spike 6, Siege Gizmo, Creighton Planetary Conqueror, Smashy, and Chemical X. Is this BattleBots? This is BattleBots. This is absolutely BattleBots. Vertical Spinner versus Vertical Spinner. Tamabris pops up with a 10-pound super chat. Thank you, Tamabris, once again. That's how you get a Clash of the Titans. A boost to my mood given the latest Christmas regulations. Wish everyone love and a Merry Christmas. Thank you, Tamabris, for the super chat. Thank you for the well wishes to everyone in the stream as well. I hope everybody in the UK handles the new lockdown regulations well and takes care of themselves and takes care of their neighbors and their friends and avoids continuing to spread the virus around. The chat is split. Surprisingly, the chat is split on two identical vertical spinners. So let's see what happens. It looks like Psychogenic has the advantage here with getting underneath Bioshocker and knocking it over. Bioshocker's trying to self-right and threw itself on the grinder in the process. And Psychogenic's trying to take advantage, and it's actually pushing Bioshocker against the grinder still. Bioshocker's got to get free. They have broken the pin and the TKO count, and now they're just going to touch tips. That is exactly what they are doing. I think Bioshocker has the tip speed advantage here, at least the RPM advantage, but it does not have the wedging advantage, and now Psychogenic has taken off an entire weapon from Bioshocker. And the other one has taken a lot of damage. And then Physics got angry with Bioshocker, and we have to restart. So here we go on the restart. Already a hit to Bioshocker's weapon from Psychogenic Harmfulness. They're just going to touch tips a little bit more. And then have to separate. Another big hit. And they're just going weapon to weapon. These two are just going to brawl it out and see who survives. Neither one particularly worried about strategy, although it looks like a spike has come off of Psychogenic Harmfulness. It does not look unbalanced, though, so I'm not sure where that spike has come from. Oh, but Bioshocker went up the stabilizers of Psychogenic Harmfulness and has lost both of its weapons now. So Bioshocker losing out the weapon battle to Psychogenic Harmfulness, who is largely unharmed. It has the pushing advantage for a little bit. It's able to keep Psychogenic Harmfulness's weapon at bay for the moment. It's actually using those stabilizers of Psychogenic Harmfulness to push against to avoid the weapon, but now it's gone up the stabilizers once again, and it's going to take some more hits from Psychogenic Harmfulness. Ooh, that was a shot to the chassis. Oh, Bioshocker's getting snagged. It's being caught between the stabilizers and that front ramming spike on Psychogenic Harmfulness. Kind of locked up there together. Psychogenic ran into the wall briefly, but Bioshocker not able to get it. It's driven up its own weapon motor and gotten high-centered. Physics kind of tossed it away, but we're going to allow it for the moment. One of the stabilizers has come off Psychogenic Harmfulness. We've seen Psychogenic Harmfulness is not particularly stable without those stabilizers, and it has flipped over. And Bioshocker going to run it into the wall. And the other stabilizer's off, so now Psychogenic Harmfulness is very unstable. And Bioshocker has the wedging advantage. Oh, but it's gotten itself between the grinder and Psychogenic's going to tear up Bioshocker's rear end. An entire side of defensive spikes has come off of Bioshocker. More spikes, more defensive features coming off of Bioshocker. Psychogenic's tearing it up, but there's only 15 seconds left in the fight. Oh, control board hits. Can the Psychogenic get the KO? It has with 8 seconds remaining. That was a long, drawn-out, brutal fight that the meta bot builders came out on top of once again. So, Team Smash, 0 points to this point. The meta bot builders with 8, showing why they were number 1 for a while, and they'll probably be number 1 again because C-Team only got 2 points this week against Stormlab. And we close out with the Super Heavyweights. Team Smash has id, 4 pneumatic pistons with racks of spikes on them. The meta bot builders have Spearmint, a wide spiked scoop, and 6-wheel drive ramming power. It has, I believe, Spearmint might have the most ring outs in the league right now. Definitely the most in the Super Heavies. What do we predict for id versus Spearmint? Quite a lot going for id this one. And quite a lot going for Spearmint. Some of them by ring out. Okay. If Spearmint wins, this is a meta shutout. They absolutely crushed Team Smash this week. Oh, id keeping Spearmint at bay, going right up the scoop. And Spearmint going to park id up on the wall briefly and onto the grinder. So id's weapon power not helping it at all while it's up on that scoop. Spearmint just holding it there, wasting time. And breaks the count and allows id back down, and then going to scoop it right back onto the same grinder once again. Almost exposed its wheels to an attack from id. id losing spikes off of its weapon racks at the moment. I've not seen anything come off of Spearmint just yet. Oh, id's struggling with its own debris, actually, while it's running upside down. A lot of spikes coming off of id. It's lost all the spikes off of 2 of its pistons. Ooh, but it got shots into Spearmint's wheels and knocked the plow off the top of Spearmint and got Spearmint to the grinder. So id coming back, but a great shove by Spearmint. It's taken all the spikes off of id and turned it over back upright. And now Spearmint totally in control of this fight and gonna slam id once more into the wall. It still has that extender sticking out the top to act as a scoop. Oh no, but Spearmint's knocked itself over on impact. Oh no, Spearmint, you were leading this fight. Id's going to push it over to the wall. It probably should leave Spearmint alone, because if it rights it, then Spearmint's going to come back into this. Waiting for either a TKO count or id to make a mistake and put Spearmint back in the fight. And id does not have the drive power without that right front wheel anymore, but id is going to manage the TKO barely. Wow. 39 seconds remaining in the clock. Id barely managed to... A lot of come from behind wins this stream. A lot, and this is a lot of damage. This is more than 30,000 points of damage in this one. So Team Smash avoids the shutout. They get 2 points, but Meta with an 8-point victory there. That was a good match for the former #1 team. Highest scoring match. That might be. That was at least 31,000 points of damage, and I think last week we had 30,900 points of damage in one. So 2 matches remain. This one has the Robot Rebels from Detroit taking on the Orlando Commandos from Orlando. I've not seen American Killjoy in the chat, but this is his team if he can get here to cheer for them. So in the lightweights, the Robot Rebels have Overclock, a pneumatic piston spike that's angled down kind of like a wedge. Overclock is not invertible. It struggled to drive upside down in a previous fight. It might not be fully invertible. The Orlando Commandos have Airtime, which is a piston flipper. Pistons do not work the way that they do in real life in this game. They are missing some of the laws of physics, and so Airtime might not be able to self-right, or it might actually be able to self-right. We don't know. We will see how it goes. Predictions for Overclock and Airtime. Everyone going with Overclock in this one. A couple going with Airtime. Let's see what these two robots have for each other. Overclock has been pretty good in the lightweight so far. Airtime is the least destructive robot in the league, because it has no damaging components on it at all. It's gotten Overclock up and on its rear and upside down. And then it's flipped Overclock once more for good measure. Definitely demonstrating aggression and weapon usage for the judges if it gets that far. Overclock not really able to do much while upside down. Said it's sort of invertible. Oh, it's taken one of the flipping arms right off of Airtime now. So Airtime with half the flipping power. Not able to lift Overclock over that time, and it has fallen over itself and then righted. And there goes the other flipping arm. So now Airtime unable to flip anything, probably unable to right itself as well. And now Overclock just pounding away at the front of Airtime's chassis. Actually pushing Airtime back towards the grinder with the piston. There's control board hits, and Overclock has scored a knockout with 1:47 left on the clock. Seconds. Thank you, Burnout. And that puts the Rebels and Detroit up by 3 points over Orlando. So we head to the middleweights. Razor259 talked about the Discord predictions game. The predictions game is interesting in the Discord server. We'll mention that later. Right now, in the middleweights, the Robot Rebels have Dramatic, a drum-shaped vertical spinner. The Orlando Commandos have Q, a sit-and spinner with a bunch of spikes around the border of it. Q is one of the more winning. It wins quite a lot. It's got a lot of points so far this season. Dramatic, not doing so hot this season. What are your predictions for this? Dramatic tends to lose against anything with reach, Mr. Circuit says. That is true, but anything that can take the drum off of Dramatic tends to beat it, and Q just done a lot of damage to a lot of robots with those spikes just because they can't get it to stop spinning. So let's see if Dramatic can take advantage of its drum. It kind of uses it as a rotary lifting device to get under other robots, but it's let Q get up to speed here. And I can't tell if Q is hitting the drum and damaging the motor with those spikes. Dramatic not really charging in. And unable to get to Q's chassis here, just kind of grazing against it. There goes the drum motor. So now Dramatic down to just its stabilizer spikes. It's managed to take one spike off of Q. Actually, Dramatic seems to be having drive issues at the moment. There goes that extender that held the drum. Dramatic could probably push Q pretty well if it could get a good charge in here, but it doesn't seem to have the drive power for that. It's going to take a running start. No, it's going to oversteer. It got underneath Q all right. Oh, but Q with a big shot. I think Q is having sit and spin AI issues here. There's another spike that's come off of Q. So Q is losing some of its spikes. Still has quite a few left, and it's doing a lot of damage to Dramatic's chassis and actually getting to that left side. Yeah, Dramatic just not able to get Q's wheels off the ground even when it's pushing it. Another big hit to Dramatic's left side. Q gonna try and go around to the right side. More spikes have come off, but Dramatic's backed into the grinder. That's a bad idea. It's taken some pretty serious damage from that. And now its defensive work on the left side is coming off. However, Q has lost a lot of its defensive work as well. We've got 40 seconds left in the fight, and they've both taken a lot of damage in this one. Dramatic using those stabilizer spikes to stab at Q's exposed chassis here. Oh, but Q getting some control board hits on Dramatic with those remaining spikes. I was not expecting this fight to be as destructive as it is. 14 seconds to go. And there's the kill shot with 8 seconds remaining. Q manages to pull out a very hard-fought KO win. And that ties the match up at 3-3 apiece. So, heavyweight time. Opposite ends of the spectrum, these robots. The Robot Rebels have Zika, a robot armed with 3 rear-hinged flippers that have no damaging components on them at all. The Orlando Commandos have Drillosaurus, which is the single most damaging robot in the entire league at the moment, with 3 vertical spinning drill weapons. What are the predictions for Drillosaurus and Zika here? Looks like chat is going to go with Drillosaurus on this one. Yep. I think it's pretty much in favor of Drillosaurus here. Zika has struggled against robots that it can't get out of the ring right away and that have a lot of weapon power. So that's Zika's plan, is to get a big flip in and hope it can get Drillosaurus over the wall. It failed to that time, and it's taken a lot of damage in the process. Now Drillosaurus underneath Zika. Zika using those defensive features to its advantage for a moment. It has gotten Drillosaurus way up in the air, but not over the wall. One of the flipping arms off. All of the flipping arms off now. Zika really needed one of those early flips to get Drillosaurus over the wall, but it has not done so. And now it is finding itself weaponless against the most destructive bot in the league, but it does have a wedge. If it can get Drillosaurus into the grinder without getting itself killed, it has a chance. The last of the defensive plows off of Zika now. And that's the KO. 62 seconds. And Orlando takes the lead 6-3. Zika doing better than I thought it would. I mean, it had a chance, but Zika does not have the durability to hold up against something like Drillosaurus. So we go to the Super Heavies. And this is an interesting matchup here. So the Robot Rebels have Heart Attack, which is a 6-wheel drive wedgie rammer that can sort of drive upside down with 2 of its rear wheels. The Orlando Commandos have Abron, which is 4 Warpick-style axes. Abron has been known to do tremendous amounts of damage when all those axes connect at once, but it's not invertible. And interestingly, Heart Attack's kind of spikes over the top are designed specifically for protecting against axes. This could be a really interesting matchup between these two. Abron, the ultimate glass cannon, 6-6 record with 6 knockouts. Yes, when Abron wins, it wins fast. When it loses, it also loses fast. Most of the chat going with Abron. Quite a few going with Heart Attack. It's gonna be interesting. Heart Attack definitely has the speed and power, or speed and drive power advantage. Abron definitely has the weapon power advantage, and if Abron gets Heart Attack's wheels, it could be over. Let's see what happens. So Heart Attack pushing Abron against the wall. Not really getting those axes into play, but it scooped Abron up, actually. Abron hit those spikes up top and lifted itself over. I think Abron's lost its side protection, its defensive features there. Oh, Abron going for the wedges, actually, on Heart Attack. And now trying to get to Heart Attack's side, and it's going around the defensive spikes and just caving in the top of Heart Attack. But now those axes coming down on those spikes, not getting taken off like we thought they were. In fact, they've taken some of the spikes off of Heart Attack. Heart Attack trying to push, but ending up in a wedge stalemate. Abron trying to get around to those left side wheels again. Ooh, a huge hit by Heart Attack, but it lost its wedge. And now Abron gonna lift itself over with those hammer arms. Heart Attack's got it against the wall, and it is taking those axes off now. All the axes off with those spikes. So now, Abron, armed only with those little ramming spikes in the front. Heart Attack lost its own plow against the grinder, though, driving way too aggressively. And it's going to push Abron into the grinder itself. Trying to get a lot of damage here back after taking all that damage from Abron early. And Abron's going to hold Heart Attack over the grinder. Heart Attack trying to use its pushing power advantage, and it's gotten Abron onto control board hits. Abron trying to wedge. Oh, what a huge ram, and that has killed Abron outright. Heart Attack with a ram into the wall to kill it. What a great push that was. That was a great fight. We have had so many Fight of the Week contenders here. And importantly, that 3 points for that knockout ties the match. The Rebels and the Commandos tie. It is a 6-6 draw, and that means nobody gets a bonus point for winning the match. And that could be critical when it comes to playoff spots at the end of the season. Player name default. I love that. He just said in the chat, "What an idiot I am. I just tried to click continue and pause the stream." I do that all the time, even when watching my own streams back. It's fine. It happens. We have one match remaining. It is between Heavy Metal Robotics and the Indiana Robotics Alliance. This is Nashville and Indianapolis here. Two kind of vaguely regional teams. Heavy Metal Robotics goes into the lightweights with Voidwalker, a 360-degree overhead spinner. Indiana has X Factor, a low slung horizontal spinner. These are two of the most destructive lightweights in the league. What does the chat predict will happen here? Heavy Metal has a chance for first in Division 1. It does. HIVE only got 3 points. So Heavy Metal can take the lead with a good win here. Most going with X Factor, quite a few going with Voidwalker. Mr. Circuit predicting the horizontal spinner to win. This is a little bit like, kind of, sort of, not really similar to Bioshocker and Psychogenic Harmfulness with two horizontals up against each other. So here we go. They're both up to speed and spinning the same direction, but Voidwalker takes the weapon off X Factor to start the fight. So X Factor basically neutered at this point and totally lost and unsure of what to do. Gonna try and push against Voidwalker and hope to get it into a grinder or get it to knock itself over like some robots have done so far this week, but basically this is Voidwalker's fight to win now. And it's up to it how many points it gets. It's landing a lot of big shots to the front of X Factor. There goes a wheel now. And white smoke pouring out of X Factor's chassis. A big hit to land control board hits. And there's the knockout in 54 seconds. And there's the 3 points for a knockout that Heavy Metal really wanted. Yeah, Heavy Metal, that was what I said. Where's it? Heartbreak and Seance, yes. So now we have an interesting matchup for the middleweights. We have a Heartbreak and Seance, a multi-bot pairing. Heartbreak with the pneumatic piston spike and Seance with a rear hinge flipper up against Iron Curtain, a wall of defensive steel plates with a piston spike that comes out between them. Lack of offense against a tremendous amount of defense. This could be an interesting matchup. What do we expect, chat? Most of the predictions leaning towards Heartbreak and Seance. Burnout seems to think Iron Curtain has this one. We have seen Seance flip over the middleweights on its own. It's up to Iron Curtain who it goes for. It can hit the wedge of Seance with that piston spike, so we'll see. Most going for Heartbreak and Seance. Let's see. So, Iron Curtain ending up on top of Heartbreak and Seance flipping it right over. Both of the multi-bots are actually, they're kind of fighting each other to get in Iron Curtain's face, and Iron Curtain is just keeping them at bay with those steel plates. Seance trying to get under the flank of Iron Curtain. And Heartbreak's kind of kicking his teammate out of the way to try to get in here and punch through the center of this steel wall in front of it. Interestingly, neither of them able to get underneath the Iron Curtain despite being able to do so earlier. And Iron Curtain is just stabbing away with that spike the whole time. I think it's doing damage to Heartbreak's weapon rather than its chassis, but it's really hard to tell. Now it's able to get some stabs in on Seance. TKO count started, but Iron Curtain successfully broke that. The spike broken off of Heartbreak now. So Seance, the only one with a damaging weapon for Heartbreak and Seance now. And Iron Curtain just stabbing away at Seance's wedge because it cannot get under the Iron Curtain. Heartbreak with no weapon power at all. The Iron Curtain fully in control of this fight just by being wide and defensive. We are in the second half of the fight now. Smoke is coming out of Seance from the damage it's taken from Iron Curtain. Oh no, physics! Why did you do that? Well, we get to restart. Iron Curtain immediately calling on the physics gods to help it out in the restart. Iron Curtain decisively going after Heartbreak, and the two mini-bots knock it over immediately. And they're going to push it over to the arena wall. Iron Curtain stranded and unable to self-right. Seance still attacking it anyway, trying to get as many damage points as he can. Iron Curtain can't move. The TKO count has started. And that is a 32-second TKO for Heartbreak and Seance. All right. So, 2 points to Heavy Metal. They now have 5. And we move on to the heavyweights. So, in the heavyweights, Heavy Metal Robotics has Vacuity, which has a battle axe down the center of it and these heavily defended kind of pontoon sides to its chassis. Indiana Robotics Alliance has Second Amendment, an aggressive four-wheel drive rammer with a bunch of defensive features and spikes kind of sort of aimed low. Second Amendment is one of the better performing robots in the heavyweights this season. Vacuity, known for its defensibility and getting fights to go to the judges and stopping other teams from getting points. So, predictions for Vacuity and Second Amendment. Burnout says Vacuity by judge's decision. Vacuity has only won a single judge's decision out of 6. Most of the chat going with Second Amendment on this one. Mr. Circuit really wants to see a bot KO Vacuity for once. Unless Second Amendment loses a wheel, which is possible, it has a chance, I think. But if it loses a wheel, it's not going to have the drive power or the controllability to get a good ram in. So, here we go. Vacuity and Second Amendment. The final heavyweight fight of the stream, and Second Amendment is underneath Vacuity, who is trying to land shots underneath itself. Second Amendment takes a blow, and then immediately goes in and gets a wheel off of Vacuity. So Second Amendment taking control of the fight quickly. slamming Vacuity into the wall. Oh, but Vacuity landing a big shot with the Battle Axe. And Second Amendment's going to push it into the grinder, but Vacuity has a lot of defensive work in the rear as well. Another blow with the Battle Axe. Second Amendment not really sure how to attack, and from the front it's just going to keep getting attacked by the Battle Axe, so Vacuity has to break a TKO count here, which it manages to do so, but it exposes its wheel to Second Amendment, who just misses with that huge ram. And now Second Amendment spikes are facing upwards, and the axe breaks off right on top of them. Vacuity's got to break another TKO count and does so. Second Amendment not able to do much with all the defensive work on Vacuity. It has lost one of the spikes off the front of Second Amendment. Oh, but there goes a wheel now. Vacuity wheelless. There's no way Vacuity's going to take it to the judges this time. Second Amendment just got to be careful not to throw itself out of the ring. And that is going to be a TKO for the Second Amendment. .111 left on the clock. So, Indiana Robotics Alliance gets 2 points back, and with a KO in the Super Heavyweights, they can tie the match. 109, thank you. And so we come to our final fight of the stream, the Super Heavyweights. Aqua Dementia, #1 Super Heavyweight in the league, and Black Widow. So, Aqua Dementia is a side-hinged flipper. A lot of wins, a lot of knockouts, very efficient robot. Black Widow is a vertical spinner with a drill spinner on the front. It's got a lot of defensive work on the sides. It is not invertible, however. What do we predict is going to happen between Aqua Dementia and Black Widow? Aqua, 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 aqua. Yep, chat seems to agree that the #1 Super Heavy is going to be able to flip over the non-invertible robot. So, final fight of Week 13, a very strange week in the Robot Rampage League. Let's see what happens. And Aqua Dementia flips over Black Widow. What a shock. It's got it over onto the grinder now. And this could be the end of the match. Aqua Dementia breaks the pin, and Black Widow not getting TKO'd, but it will get wrung out. So there you go. A nice convincing ring out to end the stream. So that is a 7-2 victory for Heavy Metal Robotics. I believe they were only 2 or 3 points behind HIVE, and HIVE only got 3 points, so Heavy Metal may have taken the win here. They may have taken the lead in Division 1. HIVE Academy has been #1 in Division 1 since the beginning of the league. So, that was Week 13. And oh my goodness, was this amazing. We had Meta get a convincing win over Team Smash to get back probably into first in its division. HIVE, we think, at this point may have lost the lead in Division 1 for the first time the whole season. They've led since week #1. We had the Armchair Engineers get the biggest upset victory of all time, getting their first match win with a complete shutout. Easily my favorite moment of the season so far. We've only got a few judges' decisions to wait on. We will, of course, get with the judges during the week to get those scores. Thank you, everybody who has been part of this stream. Thank you especially to those who have donated it with the Super Chats. I really appreciate it. Without all of you, I would not be able to keep doing this and keep all the lights on. You're literally paying for the lights to stay on for me. Thank you. Yeah, we will get with the judges, get the final standings. We will post the standings and the results to the Discord server. You can chat about the Robot Rampage League, show off the robots you're building for next season in the Discord server. The link is in the description of the stream as always. You can also check out the results and vote for your favorite fight of the week on the Robot Rampage Twitter account at Robot Rampage. So make sure you check that out as well. That is going to wrap the stream up, I feel. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I will leave you guys with next week's schedule.